Hey guys, welcome to How to Be Fancy. I'm Heather, and this is the second episode of my newest series called The Basics. In this series, I'm talking about all of the very basics of styling vintage hair that I have learned over the past 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. Of course, this is all as it pertains to my hair, which you can see is in its natural state. In the last video, I talked about how I prep my hair for styling, so what I use to wash it, any products that I use on it prior to heat styling or wet set, and that is what I have done to my hair today. I've done all of those tips, so if you missed that, you can go back and watch that video. So since the previous video was filmed, I have been on vacation to California for a week, and then I have been sick for nearly 3 weeks. So I'm still dealing with a lot of leftover sickness. I think I had a sinus infection and it just keeps going and going and going. And so I finally got my voice back. My eyes are still kind of jacked up. I got some kind of conjunctivitis, which was great for filming opportunities. So I haven't been able to film for about 3 weeks, but I am back. I am filming a few new videos for the Basics series, and I'm really excited to get started with this. So let's hop right in. I don't have access to anyone locally that specializes in vintage hair, but I do have a very good friend who is willing to work with me on getting the haircut that works for my hair type and for kind of the end result that I'm going for. He is a professional hairstylist, but he always cringes, I think, when I come in because I always ask for something that looks a little bit weird when it's unstyled. That's just kind of the nature of getting a haircut for vintage styling, is that your kind of ultimate goal is what it will look like after it's been set and not so much what it looks like in its natural state. So you kind of have to get used to that, get prepared for not always being able to just like wash your hair and go. This isn't necessarily the haircut that is going to be the most pleasing for an everyday lifestyle if you don't style your hair vintage every day. I hope that makes some kind of sense. I like to refer to my haircut as a little bit of a modified Dorothy Hamill. Most people refer to it as a modified Middy. Essentially, what I want is just a U shape when it comes to my haircut. And so you can see, again, this is grown out by a few inches, but you can see how we kind of start the layers right here at the top of my cheekbone. It's not really even layers. It's just kind of a curved effect that comes down toward the back of my hair and meets up in the middle. So same thing on this side, starts here. Now, sometimes we will disconnect this kind of more bang or fringe section and make this kind of its own thing, which I kind of like sometimes when my hair gets longer, so that it doesn't make this one big, huge, like, fold, which can be cute and page boy, but sometimes on me it just makes my face look longer and skinnier because I have kind of a long oval face. So sometimes I will have him disconnect this, and basically that means that this part will be shorter than this little U shape, just by a little bit, and so there's kind of like a visual line here that breaks up, and usually that hits about my cheekbone as well. Again, I hope that makes sense. If you guys have any questions about haircuts and things like that, feel free to leave those down below. I'm hoping to eventually be able to actually sit down with a professional and have them explain some things as far as it goes to hair, or maybe even answer some of your questions. So fingers crossed that will happen. So if you have questions, feel free to leave those down below. So basically that's it. It's really not an extensive haircut. Sometimes we have to do some layering throughout the back, simply because I do bleach my hair and I do color my hair, and that creates some damage, and so sometimes there's just a little extra damage that needs to be addressed, and we do that as carefully and subtly as possible. But the main thing I can say about getting your hair cut for a vintage style is I think you can do it on any length, so whether it's short to long, like super long, I think that it's possible to style vintage hair. But overall, I would say having that U shape really helps to create the waves that I want on the sides, because if you look at vintage style hair, particularly the style that I normally wear, it is kind of a U shape where those curls and waves tend to fall. And the other part of that is that you don't want a lot of layering. So like layering, by that I mean like coming up in through the hair and creating multiple layers throughout the hair versus just creating this swoop effect. Because the more layering that there is, the more curl is going to sit up here, because if you have a piece of hair that's shorter on your top layer, then it's going to curl up and create a shorter layer. And with vintage hairstyle, you want the weight of the hair to fall along the bottom half of the hair. This part of the hair, the crown, is usually pretty smooth when it comes to vintage hair, and then you'll have maybe some volume here in the bang area, but the majority of the volume you want down here at the bottom. So creating that U shape really helps to get that, and keeping as many layers out of your hair as humanly possible will really help get that fluff and bounce down to the bottom of your hair. The last thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to getting your hair cut is to try and find someone who uses a scissor cut rather than a razor cut, because a razor cut is really going to thin out the ends of your hair, whereas when you use scissors you get more of a blunt cut. So again, you're just keeping that volume throughout the bottom of your hair. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to keep this really quick and simple for today. Again, leave me all of your hair questions down below. I'm happy to either help you answer them or find some help to answer them if I possibly can. That's going to be it from me for this one. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I will see you back next week where I bring up all of my favorite hair tools, all of the essential tools that I think that you will need for styling vintage hair. That's coming up next time. I love you guys very much, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.